Okay, so we are in Pachad Yitzchok on Shabbos, on Maamar Yud Gimel, and we talked about the following things. We noted how there is a parallel between. Okay, so first of all, the obligation to have 3 meals on Shabbos come from the 3 mentions of the word Hayom in the Parsha of the month. Okay, and then we noted that it's strange because the poskim say that the obligation of a meal on Shabbos for the 3rd meal is the least of an obligation. You don't necessarily have to wash, and yet it's strange because at the same time there seems to be some sort of linear trajectory that's embodied by the tefillot, that we note that Shabbos actually climbs to the apex. It goes from the contents of the Shemona Esrei of Friday night refer to the Shabbos of Ma'aseh Bereshis, and the contents of the Amida of Shabbos day refer to the Shabbos of Matan Torah, and the contents of Mincha talk about the Shabbos La'atid Lavo, Yom Shekulo Shabbos, and that means that and you're not allowed, you can't fulfill your obligation of the 3rd meal till after the Mincha time, which means it's meant to parallel that apex that's described in the Amida on Shabbos of Mincha, and yet the obligation of the meal is the least. So that's how we start off noting that phenomenon, and we asked, how could that be? Okay? And then, so in order to answer that, the first introduction we had was the idea from the Rashba, that normally you have, in a blessing, you have 2 perspectives. You say, Baruch Atah Hashem, you directly address God, and then when you describe God, that He has sanctified us with His commandments and commanded us for whatever bracha, meaning whatever the contents of the bracha is. So we talk about God in 3rd person. He has done for us. He commanded us. He has sanctified us. But in the first part, we address Him directly. So the Rashba notes that actually these are the 2 dimensions that we relate to with God, that we can talk about God directly, but we can't say anything about Him because He is so transcendent. And at the same time, what we can say about Him are the things, what we can address directly is His actions. So he notes that both are present in a bracha, however, we include in each one the opposites. So for example, where do we address God directly in a bracha? By Him Himself, which is His essence, which is elusive and transcendent. And where do we talk about Him in 3rd person? When we can directly relate to His actions. So the irony there that's built into the bracha, right, the Rashba points out, and the Pachad Yitzchok points out, that this formula is off in regards to Kiddush, because in Kiddush we have both. We say, V'Shabbat Kadsho, Bi'ahava Vratzan Hinchilanu, His, the sanctity of His Shabbos, meaning 3rd person, right? He has bequeathed to us. And then in the same Kiddush we say, and V'Shabbat Kadshecha Bi'ahava Vratzan Hinchaltanu, that with the sanctity of your Shabbat, we address God directly with love and desire you have bequeathed to us. So this formula is broken in 2 ways. First, that we are directly addressing God in the things, not just, meaning twice, we directly address Him double in what He has done, and we reverse the order, that normally we talk about Him directly, and then we talk about Him in 3rd person, and here in the Kiddush, first we refer to Him in 3rd person, and we end off directly addressing Him. And that brings us to the next point, and that's where we're going to pick up inside, where we talk about the Torah encompassing, it is a testimony, and it's on the level of general and specific. Okay, so let's pick up in Daled. Okay, Ot Daled of Maamar Yud Gimel. Kol HaTorah Kula, the whole Torah, Edut Hikruya. It is called testimony, Edut. V'yesh bekan klaliyut upratiyut. And within that, there is the level of generality and specific. De'im amnam klaliyota shel Torah eduti, that if there is in its generality, all of Torah in its entirety is called edut, testimony. Hine pratiyuta shel shem edut, when you want to talk about an aspect of the Torah specifically, and the microcosm that's called edut, hunach al shnei luchot habrit. That is referring to the 2 tablets of the covenant. So basically, when you say that the Torah is edut, testimony, you could be referring to all of the Torah, its entire content of laws, mitzvot, etc., that in its entirety, in one package, it's called edut. And there's an aspect of Torah, which was the 10 commandments, or the 10 utterances, which were on the tablets of law, that they themselves are called luchot ha'edut, the tablets of testimony. Okay, de klape klaliut shem edut de kol Torah. When we're talking about Torah in its general, in its entirety, it's called the edut, right? And also nikraim hem shnei luchot ha'edut b'pratiut, that the two tablets are called also testimony specifically. So nefaresh na b'safa berura. Now we will explain with a clear language et tochen haklaliut ve'pratiut shel shem edut. Why is it the contents of, on the general and the specific, this name, this appellation of testimony, b'keshem kol Torah, in regards to the whole Torah bechlal in its entirety, v'maluchot beprat, and with the tablets specifically. Aleinu ladat, it is upon us to know, ki inyan ha'edut, this idea of testimony, hu echad hagalgalim asher darko mitgalgalim ma'orot yemot olam ad acharit hayamim. The idea of testimony is actually that which facilitates. It's one of the wheels that through it the events of the regular world, the regular history, to what we call acharit hayamim, the end of days, what facilitates going from yemot olam, the regular days of the world, the way the world normally is, to the era of acharit hayamim, is facilitated through this idea of edut. Okay, so we're going to see now that somehow edut joins the olam hazeh to the era of history, which is it's the end of days, or Yemot HaMashiach. Okay. Hanavua gilta lanu, prophecy has revealed to us, ki atem edai v'ani el. So the Navi says, that God says through the Navi, you are my witnesses, referring to Am Yisrael, v'ani kel, and I am God. Upirshu Chazal, and Chazal explained, Ematai ani el, God says, when am I kel, when am I actually God, when can my name kel manifest? Bisman she'atem edai, when you, Am Yisrael, function as my witnesses. V'im einatem edai, if you will not witness, ein ani kel, I am not God. Umikiven shekol kach magia kocho shel edut, and since this power, this force of testimony is so strong that it facilitates b'malach hakdusha de olamot, it facilitates the nature of the worlds of holiness, meaning this cosmically, what Chazal is saying here is that God does not function as El, meaning the worlds don't work and function with Shefa without Am Yisrael serving as witnesses by keeping the mitzvot, right? And since it's that powerful that the whole functioning of the olamot is reliant on us being witness, Harei min hadin hu shemahalach edut diktusha yichlo betocho gal kol haofanim shel metziut haedut beolam klal. So therefore we see that edut, what that statement is saying, is that this holy testimony is what will include in all of it, all of the various other iterations and manifestations of this idea of testimony. Meaning, supreme testimony is this cosmic testimony that we're talking about. Meaning, what is edut? When Am Yisrael keep the Torah, and that's what facilitates creation. However, included in all that are even the mundane laws of testimony in court. Okay? The Adarabah, just the opposite, Hilchot Edut Dechoshem Mishpat, the laws of testimony that are included in the Shulchan Aruch that talks about, of Choshem Mishpat, that talks about adjudication and all kinds of things that a Beit Din has to preside over. So all those laws, Yonkim Heim, they actually get their nourishment, so to speak, meaning they are the Toldot, Mimalach HaKtusha Shel Tochen HaEdut Be'olamot. They are all an extension and a manifestation of this greater cosmic idea of this testimony that facilitates all the worlds. Ukemoshe nimsar lanu al divrei Torah b'chlal, just like that has been given over to us, that power manifests in the keeping of the Torah in general. Ki kol devarecha echad hem, because all of God's words are all one. Ela she'ein anu yodem ledarsham, we just don't know how they ultimately manifest in all their different details, but the truth is we know for a fact that how we keep edut down here in a mundane way is all an outgrowth of this cosmic edut. Okay. V'hinei nimtzan lefaneno. behold, they are found before us. The Chumash, Shnei Ofanim B'mtziut Edut. There are two aspects of testimony that are presented to us in the Chumash, in the Torah. So the verse says, V'hu Eid, he is a witness. What has made him a witness? O Ra'ah, or he actually saw. O Yada, or he knew. So there are two things that make somebody a witness. He can either know something to be true, or he actually saw it. But both give him the validity of a witness. Hare lanu, behold we have, Ri'iyah shel edut, the seeing of a witness, V'yediyah shel edut, and the knowledge of a witness. Both things make somebody a witness. V'chachamim pirshu lanu, and our sages explained to us, V'amru, and they said, Ra'ah, he saw, Bifneinu halo lo yada. Okay. I'm sorry, Ra'ah, he saw, Bifneinu, before us, that's when a person says, in front of us, Hilvelo, he lent to him. Meaning somebody is reporting that I saw that so-and-so lent money to the other person. Yada, what does yada means? He know. Bifneinu hodalanu, before us, he admitted. Meaning the difference between seeing and knowing is that you can actually witness the event that made that happen, or you've been empowered with the fact, right? Even without, just because you didn't see it doesn't mean you can't know that it happened. Hare, we see tishmiya mipi haneman, hearing something from a trustworthy source. Hainu yediyah, that constitutes knowledge. V're'iyah, but seeing something. Hainu magachushi, that is contact with your senses. Im hagufa de'uvda, with the actual event. V'shuv ein anu zekukim bekan ela lahatakat lishono shel Rambam behilchot yesodei haTorah. And once again, all we need here is to copy the language of the Rambam in the laws of the foundations of Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu lo ha'aminu ba Yisrael mipnei ha'otot v'hamoftim. Okay, so the Rambam says that you should know that Moshe's authority, and the reason why we can rely on him for the word of God, is not because of all the miracles and wonders that he did, but rather, elapimnei she'einenu ra'u v'lo zar, our own eyes saw, and they were not strange to God talking to him at Sinai, right? Like the verse says, Moshe Maamar, Hine anochi ba'elecha, God says to Moshe, behold, I come to you ba'av ha'anan, in the thickness of the cloud, ba'avor yishma ha'am, in order that the whole nation should hear, bidabri imcha, when I speak to you, v'gam becha ya'aminu la'olam, and also, because of this, they will believe in you forever. Meaning, there's something that gives Moshe the authority, that is that everybody witnessed God directly talking to him, okay? And we mentioned the last time that we learned this, that there's a Mishnah in Avot. The first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. Moshe received from Sinai, umasra li Yoshua, and he gave it to Yoshua, Yeshua lezekenim, and Yoshua gave it over to the elders, v'zekenim l'neviim, and the elders to the prophets, v'neviim la'anshe knesset ha'gedola, and the prophets to the men of great assembly. So that is the first Mishnah of Avot, and it's introducing that the Mishnayos then will go through every successive generation and talk about the leader of that generation, how he contextualized the Torah as a statement of Musar for that generation. And if you look in the Mishnah, it's very curious. What does it mean that Moshe received? Are we talking about the Torah? If we're talking about the Torah, is that what it says he gave to Yoshua? Because he gave it to all of Am Yisrael. What did he give to Yoshua? And what did Yoshua give to the Zekenim? So he said that over here, what he received and what he's giving over is the authority of Torah. The authority to be the definer of Torah, meaning he's entrusted with God with the Torah Shabbat Peh. And that's given to one in every generation. Whereas everybody, God gave the Torah to Am Yisrael, there's an individual who receives the authority of Torah. Okay, that's what Moshe received at Sinai, because we ask, what does it mean that he received at Sinai? The Mishnah shouldn't be bashful. Let it say that Moshe received from God. Moshe kibel mi Hashem umasar liYoshua. So why doesn't it say he received from God? That's not what gave him the authority. He has authority because of Sinai. It's because of what God did at Sinai in front of everybody. The event of Sinai is what granted him the authority. That's what the Rambam's saying here. Okay, So all of us witnessed. We all had a level of re'iyah, of direct contact, and therefore, subsequently, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu is Naaman, and therefore, we can constantly, afterwards, subsequently, we can rely on him that everything he's telling us, if he says it's from God, we have no reason to not believe him, okay? So there's a re'iyah, and that facilitates a yediyah. Okay? So there's the Re'iyah level of the Torah, which is just Har Sinai, that's the Luchot. And then there's the Yediyah, that all the knowledge of the rest of the Torah being from God relies on the Prat of the Torah of Edut, being Edut through Re'iyah, which is the Luchot. Yeah, you follow?
Yeah.
Okay. So so the Pachad is going to spell it out. The Nimtza, and it turns out, the Kol Torah Kula, the whole Torah in its entirety, Shamanu mipin haneman, we heard from the mouth of he who is to be believed. V'hainu edut diyadiyah, and that is the type of testimony. We are the type of witnesses that we have something called yediyah, knowledge. Ula umatzot. In contrast to this, nevuato b'maimad Har Sinai, the prophecy that we all experienced at the event of Har Sinai, Einenu ra'u, our own eyes saw, velo zar, and they were not strange. Meaning this is not something that we did not witness. V'hainu edut hari'iyah, that is the type of witnessing called seeing. V'zohi hasafa brura, this is the clear language, the clear articulation that shekigoda pshituto, that to the greatness of its simplicity, kenhu azuz amka, so too is the boldness of its depth. Klaliyut Shem Edut, in general, the name witnessing or testimony, Dekol Torah Kula, used to refer to the whole Torah, Hainu Kiyuma Shel Oyada, that is the standing of the category of he knew, meaning in the laws of testimony where we say, in the Chumash where it says he's a witness because he knew. Hane'amar B'Hilchot Edut, that's which is said in the laws of Edut. U'leumatzot, Zeh, in contrast to this, Pratiuta, the detail, Shel Shem Edut, the microcosm of the Torah, having there's a specific part of the Torah itself, which is also Edut. That's the Shnei Luchot Habrit, the 2 tablets of the covenant. Hainu Kiyuma, that is the standing of the definition of witnessing Shel Ora'ah, of or he saw. Hane'amar B'Hilchot Edut, which is said in the laws of Edut, right? So we said the 2 Luchot Habrit, they are Edut in microcosm because that was the instance of Re'iyah, of witnessing personally. And then the rest of the Torah, we can testify that it is true because we heard it from a Ne'eman, and that is on the level of Yediyah, of knowledge. Okay. Moving right along to Vav. Kol hadvarim halalu, all these words, amurim heim b'shem edut the Torah mitzvah. That is referring to the testimony of Torah in regards to the Torah and the mitzvah. Meaning, like we said, that the prophet said, keep the Torah and the mitzvah, and then I could be God. But within the Torah itself, there is one commandment, asher mitzad atzma, that from her own self, ubigvulot atzma, and within her own definitions and boundaries, Torah edut aleh. She also has, this mitzvah also has the Torah of testimony. Mitzvah zu Shabbat hikruya. This is called Shabbos. So there's a lot. This is we discussed this actually in other Maamarim, that the Chazal say Shabbat sahaduta akari. She is called testimony. So there's actually a statement from Chazal that says that the essence of testimony is Shabbos. Somehow this embodies testimony also, Shabbos. Ve'ein omrim vayichulu el b'shnayim. So there's a custom when you say Friday night to say vayichulu. In Arvit, there's a custom to say it with 2 people, not to say it by yourself. Because the verse says that in laws of testimony, normative laws of testimony, you require a pair of witnesses to give testimony. So there is something implied when we say Vayichulu Friday night, it has the significance of giving testimony, and we enact that by saying that with someone else. He notes in parentheses here, Ayin Hetev Le'el Maamar Dalet Shin is Parsha Lano Pinat Yikra Tzuba Arichot. So he notes that another place in Maamar Dalet he discusses this more at length. Umikivan Shenemra Torah Edut Biktushata Shel Shabbos. Since regarding the sanctity of Shabbos, the Torah calls it, right? It has the Torah of testimony. Okay, it's impossible. If the Torah is called testimony, it's impossible in its own description of sanctity that it should not have these 2 aspects that we discussed before of testimony. So that means that Shabbos is a microcosm also of Edut, and therefore it should have within it, we will demonstrate how it has both the testimony of Re'iyah, of seeing, and the testimony of Yediyah, of knowing. Where do we see that in play in Shabbos itself?
Amen.
We're gonna see. Okay? V'kacha yatsa lanu mizeh. And so it comes out from this, ki kiddushata shel Shabbat, the holiness, the sanctity of Shabbos, b'tor Shabbat, v'lo b'tor heyota chelik dekol Torah, in and of itself, not as it is a detail of the whole Torah. Timtza lanu b'mahalach shel re'iyah u'b'mahalach shel yediyah. So now the Shabbos will demonstrate to us the aspect of knowledge, testimony of empowered by knowledge. By seeing, and by witnessing, and testimony, right, empowered by knowledge. Shekain hari'iyah v'hayidiyah, both seeing and knowing, heim ha'amudim, they are the pillars, shel metziut ha'edut ba'olam, for the essence, or for the being of testimony in the world. U'b'pitchei sha'arim elu, and with the openings of these portals, omdot hi habina v'chokeret. So understanding comes to these doors and analyzes the following. Torah ha'edut de Shabbos, the Torah of testimony of Shabbos. Mitzad atzmiyuta shel Shabbos. It presents itself from the essence of Shabbos itself. V'lo b'hiyota chelek mikol Torah. It is not embedded in Shabbos because Shabbos is a part of the Torah, but rather it in and of itself it has it. Efo timtza lanu, where shall we find it? V'amnam yisodiyota shel tshuvat sheila zo, the foundation for the answer to this question, Kidole hi kokach, is so great, ad she'i efsher la mipli liyot zil krei beirav, mikra mefurish b'chomesh. It is so great that it needs to be demonstrated by us from a very, very simple, straight out, direct statement in the Chumash. Kach amar lahem Moshe liyisrael b'parshat Haman. This is what Moshe instructed Yisrael in the Parsha of the Man. So Moshe tells Am Yisrael, Re'u, see, Re'iyah, see, witness with your eyes. Ki Hashem natan lachem HaShabbos. God has granted you Shabbos. Al kain, therefore, hu noten lachem bayom hashishi lechem yomayim. He is granting you on the 6th day a double portion of bread for 2 days. So let's just think about this for a second. See, right? You can witness with your own eyes how God has given you Shabbos because you are receiving on the day 6 a double portion for the 7th day.
That's right, yeah.
V'lama lo ye'are ma'ore miyuchad she'alav yuchal Moshe laharot be'etzba v'lomar ki ma'or zeh mishtamesh hochacha ki Hashem natan lachem et mitzvat tzitzitzu kedoma. Why is it? V'lama, why? Lo ye'are ma'ora miyuchad, that there shouldn't be a specific, a special event, she'alav yuchal Moshe laharot be'etzba, that upon it Moshe can point with his finger, v'lomar, and to say, ki ma'ora zeh, this event, mishamesh hochacha, this is a clear proof, ki Hashem natan lachem et mitzvat tzitzis, that God gave you the mitzvah tzitzis, etc. Meaning of all the Torah, you don't have Moshe Rabbeinu telling you a mitzvah from God and saying, oh, and by the way, this comes with an event that you can actually see with your own eyes. And somehow, Shabbos, Moshe says, Shabbos is special from all the other mitzvahs because you can see yourself that God is giving you Shabbos. Why? Because of this, it's tied to, somehow, you're witnessing that with the phenomenon of the double portion on Friday. What's going on over here? Okay. Zion. Ella shehem advarim. That's exactly the point. Shabbos sahaduta mikri. Shabbos is called testimony, in the words of Chazal. Umipnei kach, and because of this, I efshar lo lekdushat haShabbat mibli re'iyah shel edut v'yediyah shel edut b'gvulatea shel haShabbat atzma. If Chazal say that Shabbos is called testimony, it's impossible to have Shabbos without the seeing and the knowledge of testimony embedded within it. And therefore, and therefore, it had to be that without, it couldn't be that Shabbos should present itself to the 600,000 souls that left Mitzrayim and stood at Har Sinai without an event happening in front of their eyes. Meaning, Shabbos needed to have a component with it to facilitate Re'iyah. Ubikan yit'amek hama'amik, and with this, one who is seeking depth can delve, v'yimtza, and he will find, ki b'pasuk hanal, in this verse that we just stated, Shamar lahem Moshe Yisrael, that Moshe told Israel, b'ma'or haman, regarding the event of the man, nitparshu lanu gam hariya de'etos v'gam ha'yediyah de'etos. So where is this witnessing and knowledge of testimony in Shabbos? It is embedded in the man. Kach nemar b'Torah, that's what the Torah is saying. Re'u, come and see. Ki Hashem natan lachem haShabbos, al ken hu noten lachem lechem yomayim. God himself gave you Shabbos, and you can witness this through the phenomenon of the double portion of man. Re'iyah zo, this seeing, mishnei ma'orot mitztarefet. It comes together from two separate events. Mishneh lechem biyom hashishi, the double portion on Friday, u'meniyat habiyush ve'harama biyom hashvi, and the lack of spoiling and decomposition on the seventh day. So there's two components to this double portion of man. It's not just enough that God gave you a double portion on Friday. It's a fact that the extra portion lasts for Shabbos miraculously. Okay? So within that, there's two stages. There's something is happening on Friday. On the outset, you go into Shabbos empowered with a double portion, but that double portion is not vindicated, so to speak, till you see that it has a miraculous quality that it's meant to last on Shabbos too. That's when post facto it gives significance to that which happened on Friday. Right? This is a common phenomenon that we charted from the first Maamar, that something happens on the onset of Shabbos, but it's not fully appreciated till later on Shabbos. Okay? And it turns out, ki ha're'iyah, what you witness, nigmar b'shachris to Shabbos. That the re'iyah, the seeing stage, is finished by Shabbos morning. Because, the double portion goes in Friday afternoon, and all night, right, you save that extra piece till Shabbos day, and when you're ready to eat a Shabbos day, that's when you see that it hasn't spoiled. Dirak miniyat habiyush, only the lack of spoiling, the harama and decomposition, baboker, the Shabbos, on the morning of Shabbos, he shagilta lemafreya. That's what revealed retroactively, ki hichpa b'yom hashishi, ki akefa b'yom hashishi, the double portion on Friday, haya mishum hachanat Shabbat, that was all out of consideration for Shabbos. So you need two stages of the process. You need to be given the double portion initially, but then when the double portion miraculously lasts and it's actually in your hands when you need it, that's the fulfillment of that act.
Are they both re'eh?
No, that's the point. The first act is you see that God gives you a double portion, but there's no yediyah yet. It's still not clear, right? So, okay, we'll see. V'nimtza, it turns out, demashin itchadesh b'shachris, that novelty in the morning to Shabbos, in the morning of Shabbos, with Torah Re'iyah, through witnessing, Paul b'yediyah gam alel Shabbos. You have a component, it's only when you see that it hasn't decomposed that you also have an understanding for what happened Friday night. I mean, you could not appreciate what happened for Friday night till Shabbos morning, so your yediyah goes retroactively on what was going on Friday night, but you couldn't pick up on it because of what you have now, Shabbos day. You follow?
Yeah.
The kol mafreya, anything that happens retroactively, ain't ele begeder yediyah. That's only knowledge. That's not witnessing, because you didn't have the presence of mind while it happened. The adayin ein kan hamaga chushi, because you still don't have the direct contact with the senses. Shalriya, with seeing kayadua.
But surely seeing that it's not disintegrating is a riyah.
Yeah, that's why. Right. So it happens post facto. The yediyah is on Friday night, and the riyah is Shabbos day. Okay? The riyah is what makes post facto a yediyah Friday night.
But you also have a riyah of Friday night.
No, you don't, because you can't appreciate that it's not decomposing till the next day.
But you're not witnessing anything. You have the riyah of the two. Surely that is riyah.
No, that's what I'm saying. The two doesn't really become significant till it's viable when you need it. I mean, the fact that you were given something Friday, that doesn't mean you're going to have a bracha for Shabbos. When it still lasted, then you could appreciate the fact that it was given. That's what was given on Friday. So the yediyah is post facto, but the re'iyah is witness Shabbos day. Okay, so basically you have a two-part process. That's Friday night and Shabbos day, and that is a full process that you need to appreciate the Kiddush of Shabbos, and basically you're left with nothing. Shalashis, Sidash Lishit. Nothing special happens later. Okay. Now, what's interesting is this is all going to be manifest in the difference between the Kiddush of Friday night and the Kiddush of Shabbos day, like we discussed the first time around. Okay, I think I still have 8 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's change tracks for a second. Ma'angei Shabbos v'to'ameh, those who delight the Shabbos and taste it. Yimtzu et orot shel hadiburim halalu, they will find the lights of these words. Kishehem niklatim b'matbea d'tfilat shachris Shabbos, as they are integrated in the form of the prayers of Shabbos Shachris. Meaning, let's look now at the words of Shabbos Shachris prayers. Halo kach ne'amar sham b'ma'alata shel kiddushat Shabbos, where in the moment where it describes the great quality, the great level of the sanctity of Shabbos, ki ktuva hi gam beluchot v'gam b'Torah. The prayers make a point of stating that it is also, that Shabbos is also on the luchot, and it's also in the Torah. It's in the luchot on the level of edut in the microcosm, and it's also on the, right, it's written in the Torah on the level of edut in the general, right? We say, v'katuv bahem shmirat Shabbat, v'chen katuv b'Torah secha, right? We say that Yismach Moshe b'matnas chalko. Moshe can rejoice in receiving his portion, right, etc., 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 right? And he brought down the luchot with his hands, and so, right, v'chen katuv b'Torah, and it says v'chen katuv shmirat Shabbat. It says in the luchot, it mentions the keeping of Shabbos. V'chen katuv b'Torah sech, and it's also mentioned in your Torah. Why does the prayer have to say that? What's the point? Okay. This special level of Shabbos that's written both in the microcosm, in the luchot, and also the Torah itself, where it's not the luchot, talks plenty about Shabbos, right? Ma tiva, what's the point? What's the advantage? Amnam, however, heim atvarim, that's actually the point. Kemoshe matzinu b'shem edut the Torah shemitchaleki leklaliyut Torah b'Torah yidiyah de'edut, just like we find with edut that the Torah itself, in its general, is called Torah of yidiyah, of knowledge, like we explained before. V'luchot habrit, and the tablets of the covenant b'Torah re'iyah de'edut, they are the aspect of witnessing, of testimony. Kemo kain, so too, matzinu gam b'shem edut to Shabbos, regarding the name of testimony that's connected to Shabbos, Torah re'iyah de'edut, you have edut, testimony of seeing, shehi b'darga de luchot, that's the level of the tablets. V'Torah yidiyah de'edut, and you have the Torah of the knowledge, testimony of knowledge, shehi b'darga de chol Torah, that's the level of the Torah generally. V'harei zeh mar'eh, this shows al shikiluta shel Shabbat keneged kol Torah. That shows how Shabbos is the same weight as the whole Torah. It stands on the scales equal to the whole Torah. Ki hashabat mitzad atzma, right? Like for example, we say somebody who keeps Shabbos, it's like they kept the whole Torah, and somebody who breaks Shabbos, it's like they broke the whole Torah. Why does it have the standing that is a microcosm? It's like the whole Torah because you see that reflected on this level of edut. That Shabbos by itself, Shabbos has both the level of luchot and the level of the general Torah. And all the various aspects and details and definitions of what testimony is, which are found in the general laws of edut in the general Torah. They are also to be found in the sanctity of Shabbos, within the framework and the definitions and the boundaries of Shabbos itself. And understand this well. Okay, one more. Umikan, and from here, hu hashoresh, that is the root. Lezeh she'anu mechalkim b'kedushat shel Shabbos, ben kavod hayom shel kedushat Shabbos, uben kavod halayla shel kedushat Shabbos. So he notes, halachically we say that there is a difference between how you honor Friday night and how you honor Shabbos day. That we have a law that you always honor the Shabbos day more. So if you have a choice, let's say you have an item, and you want to know whether to, or you have, let's say you only have wine kiddush for one day, for one kiddush, right? Do you make kiddush Friday night? Do you make kiddush Shabbos? Do you make kiddush on bread Friday night? If you have enough bread for both meals, but you only have kiddush for one. Meaning, you always honor Shabbos day more than you honor Friday night. That's the law. So the kavod of Shabbos day should be greater than Shabbos night. Okay. Velo od, and not only that, ella she'ifsika lan hilchata, that we paskin lahalacha di'im I asher lo la'adam l'kaim shnehem, if you cannot properly keep both the honor of the day and the honor of night, right? Hare kavod hayom v'kavod halayla, kavod hayom adif. Let's say you have enough food for one meal, make the meal Shabbos day, because the honor of the day of Shabbos is greater than the honor of the night of Shabbos. That was the point of what we were explaining in the previous entries. Ilmale Torat Edut de Shabbos, if it wasn't for this aspect of Shabbos that is a microcosm of Torah, of testimony, Lo haya kvoda shel Shabbat, the honor of Shabbos, mitchalek l'shnei shemot shel kvod yom and kvod laila. You would not have this bifurcation, so to speak, or this separation between the idea of the honor of Friday night and the honor of Shabbos day. This is a direct outgrowth of this whole phenomenon of Edut that we were talking about. Why? Ki hayom v'halayla, the day and the night, mishtayachim heim l'kedushat Shabbat b'hashva achat. Both night and day are both Shabbos. So what's different? Why do you have to honor? Why is there a mandate to be more sensitive to the honor of Shabbos at one time over the other? Ki hayom v'halayla mishtayachim heim l'kedushat Shabbat. Both the day and the night are relevant to the sanctity of Shabbos with equal regard. Ella mikivan sheShabbos adusa mikri, since Shabbos is called testimony, u'mitziut edut be'olam, and the testimony is manifest in the world. Ba'alad du partzufin, it's two-faced. It has these two aspects of seeing and knowing. Parts of shel re'iyah, parts of shel yediyah. There's an aspect of seeing and knowing. So when is the period of seeing in Shabbos, and when is the period of knowing? If I said that Shabbos day is greater than Shabbos night, and it's a function of this, that means that Shabbos night we only have
knowing,
right, and Shabbos day we have seeing. I would assume. Let's see if this bears out. Okay. Parts of Shari'iyah, the arrangement, this face, this presence of seeing, or parts of Shal Yediyah, and this presence of knowledge. Mimela, Bal Karchach, it turns out, even we're forced to say, Shagam b'Shabbos nimtzam hem shnei partzufim halalu. Even in Shabbos, there is this presence, these two manifestations. Umima'ora haman, and from the event of the giving of the man, atalomed, you learn ki chiluk partzufim zeh shel Shabbos, this separation of these two different manifestations of edut on Shabbos, beheteim, that directly corresponds lechiluk yom v'layla, to the difference between the day and the night, shel Shabbos hu mechuvan. It is oriented to the difference between day of Shabbos and night of Shabbos. Because the pasuk says by the Parshas Haman, Boker, in the morning, vira'item, and you will see, Erev v'yadatem, at night, and you will know. The verse actually says straight out.
On the Parsha of the month.
Yeah. Re'iyat haboker, the seeing in the morning, gar malim afrei, causes retroactively, yediyah balayla, a knowledge of what was happening at night. You weren't there, you didn't have the presence of mind to witness what was happening at night, but now you know what you actually were seeing at night. Like we explained in the previous entry. And by itself, naturally, it extends further, meaning this understanding, what's happening here. The preference of the honor of the day, al kavod halayla, over the honor of the night, mushashu, it is rooted in ba'adifuto shel hari'iyah al gabe hayediyah, the preference of witnessing over knowledge. Okay, so we're setting something up here, but I guess we'll have to pause here. Wishing everybody a Shavua Tov Ma'od.
So how do you reconcile that with the fact that we said that Kiddush is actually D'oraita for the night and not for the day?
Well, that's because it's exactly, we're going to talk about that later, because you'll notice that on the day, nothing changes. Your knowledge is facilitated by a process, but ultimately nothing changed. When did everything actually happen? Friday night. That's when everything happens. So we're marking that's the significance of when everything happens. It just happens to be its time lapse. Your knowledge is slow release. So by the time you get to Shabbos day, you can put all the pieces together, but really it all happened Friday night. So we're marking the significance of that Friday night. Shabbos day, nothing really, meaning even the kavod of Shabbos day is all from Chazal to make this point. But the truth is, here it's like this. Let's say somebody missed Kiddush Shabbos night. And Shabbos day, they're going to make Kiddush. So we said you make Kiddush of Friday night, not Kiddush of Shabbos day. Because Kiddush of Friday night is really the true Kiddush. And Kiddush Shabbos day is only from the Chachamim to mark the honor of the day. But the truth is you're not adding anything. It's all D'Rabbanan, you're not adding anything. And if you wouldn't have done the Friday night Kiddush, you did not actually fulfill your obligation of Kiddush. That's why you have to say Shabbos day. So meaning that's all because significantly what's happening is all Friday night. We're going to talk about this difference, meaning it's all happening Friday night, but it doesn't really bear on reality till you're aware of it, which is happening Shabbos day. Okay?
Shkoyach.